Hi everyone, I'm Emma, and you're on the Stories by Emma channel. Let's dive into some amazing stories. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Thank you. The Price of Silence. Mason worked construction in a town that was growing faster than its streets could handle. Every day he passed an old factory, its rusted gates looming like a forgotten relic. The place had been abandoned for decades, but no one dared talk about what really happened there. It was as if the town had collectively agreed to erase its history, leaving behind nothing but whispers. The silence surrounding it was deafening, and Mason had always been curious. One afternoon, after finishing a long day on the job, Mason decided to walk by the factory again. This time something felt different. The air was heavier, thick with unspoken tension. He paused at the gate, staring at the faded sign. McKinley Steelworks, it read, though time had nearly wiped it away. His gut told him to walk away, but curiosity, as it often does, pushed him forward. What was hidden behind those walls? Mason wasn't the only one with questions. The factory had employed thousands of locals before it mysteriously shut down in the 1980s. Rumors spread: safety violations, toxic waste, even missing workers. Yet no official word ever came. Those who knew something either moved away or kept their lips sealed. The factory had swallowed the truth, along with everything else. Determined to uncover what had been buried, Mason started digging through old records. He spent hours in the town's library, piecing together a story long forgotten. What he found wasn't just negligence, it was a cover-up. A fire had swept through the factory, killing over 50 workers. Their deaths were blamed on faulty wiring. But the truth was far darker. The owners had known about the danger and chose to do nothing. To them, lives were expendable. Mason's heart raced as he uncovered more. It wasn't just a fire. The factory had been used to illegally dump chemicals, exposing workers to lethal toxins. The fire wasn't an accident, it was arson, set to cover up years of environmental crimes. Mason couldn't believe it. The town had been living on poisoned soil, drinking tainted water, and no one had ever been held accountable. But revealing the truth wasn't going to be easy. As Mason dug deeper into the investigation, strange things started happening. His phone rang late at night, but no one was on the other end. He noticed the same car parked outside his house every evening. Friends warned him to drop it, to leave the past where it belonged. But Mason couldn't shake the feeling that if he didn't act, no one else would. His decision to go public set off a chain of events he couldn't control. First, local news picked up the story. Then, national outlets caught wind of it. The town, which had tried so hard to forget, was now at the center of a media storm. People came forward, survivors, families of the deceased, all with their own pieces of the puzzle. Mason had lit a fuse, and there was no turning back. The factory owners, now part of a larger conglomerate, scrambled to contain the damage. They issued statements denying everything, but the evidence was undeniable. Lawsuits piled up, and the town found itself reliving a nightmare it had worked so hard to suppress. Mason became a target, both legally and personally, but he didn't care. He knew what he was fighting for. As the legal battles dragged on, Mason realized that justice wouldn't come easily. Money had a way of silencing people, of making problems disappear. The owners had deep pockets, and the town had little faith they'd ever see a courtroom. But Mason wasn't fighting for a quick victory. He was fighting for the truth, for the people who had lost their lives, and for the families who had been left behind. Months passed, and while the town slowly came to terms with its past, Mason found himself increasingly isolated. People didn't want to remember, they wanted to move on. The factory's shadow still loomed, but now it was joined by a different kind of silence, the silence of indifference. Yet Mason knew that even if the town forgot again, the truth had been unearthed. In the end, the lawsuits dragged on for years, with settlements offered and quietly accepted. The factory grounds were eventually cleared, and a new development took its place. But the scars remained, invisible to those who didn't know where to look. Mason moved away, leaving behind the place that had consumed so much of his life. But he had no regrets. As he walked away from the factory for the final time, Mason glanced back once more. The gates were gone, the sign replaced by shiny new buildings. But for those who knew, the past would never truly be buried. The price of silence had been paid, but the cost would never be forgotten.